Alrighty, everyone, let's give another round of applause to Lisa, Kiana, and Rashawn. Thank you. For our next panel discussion, we're going to talk about how Dennis encouraged, listened, coached, and molded these following panelists to make a difference. How did Dennis play a significant role in all of their success stories? Our first panelist is Helma Cap. She has been a member of the PTR for 50 years, dedicating her professional career to tirelessly serving the organization and its members. Our next panelist is Elizma Norje. Elizma is the first Namibian tennis player to be ranked on the tour. She has served as president of the Namibian Tennis Association and is certified ITF Level 3 Performance tennis coach. She currently works at the Vandermeer Tennis Academy. And returning for this following panel is also Jean Mills and Tina Tharp. Our returning moderators will also be Kyle and Kalindi. Thank you.
Thank you all. Another amazing panel. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your experiences and your journey, obviously with Dennis, but within your own career. So very lucky to be a part of this again. I'm a lucky guy, what can I say? So one of Dennis's greatest gifts was making people not only feel seen, but also for what he did for them. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit today. So Kalindi, you want to kick us off?
Thanks. All right, how's that? Yeah, that's better. All right. Yeah, well, thank you ladies thank you all for being here. And yeah, it's an honor. It's already been an amazing. All right. Jean, I think this is becoming a tradition because you kicked off the last panel, so you're going to kick off this one as well. Dennis appointed you as PTR president, making you the first woman to be PTR president, which is an honor. And I'm just curious if you remember what he said to you in that moment, and what did it mean to feel seen and trusted in that way?
Well, so Dennis unfortunately was not well, and the board was discussing what were we going to do about it. And the reality is, unfortunately at the time, Dennis did not appoint me, but the board met and we talked about it, and we talked with Pat about it. And quite frankly, it was a situation that was very, very difficult for all of us. There were only 5 of us on the board at the time. And the truth of the matter is, I was probably the one that was in the best position with regard to my workload, that I would be able to assume the duties. So it came about in a different way, but it was an honor. I was scared to death. The board supported me dramatically. Thank goodness they were there for me. I had no idea what I was doing, but I had been involved in leadership roles, and I knew the first thing we had to do was develop a strategic plan, get the goals set forward. Pat was a very integral part of this, I will tell you. It was very difficult for Pat, but Pat picked up the ball right away. As you all heard yesterday, she was a strong woman. She's a strong leader. She's strongly opinionated too. So it was a balancing act for trying to do what Dennis and Pat would want, and then try to take an organization in a different direction. Dan Santorum was the CEO, and he was invaluable. So with all of us working together is the only way that it really continued in that light.
Thanks, Jean.
Love that, Jean. Thank you. Tina, your early interactions with Dennis, was there one moment or interaction where you felt truly heard, admired, respected, and how did that sort of influence your journey and your pathway?
You know, as they said earlier, when you would come, Dennis would always say, "What have you got for me?" And I was always coming here going, "What has Dennis got for me?" Because he always came and he always learned something. And I'll just never forget, they were changing up some of the leadership, and he came to me and said, "We really want to put you in the position to run the women's committee." And, you know, Annie Miller was stepping down, and I'm like, why me? You know, there's so many women that could easily do that. And he said, I just have faith in you that you're going to take this committee to the next level. And that just, I think I rode home and I couldn't fit my head in the car really well. But that just, you know, maybe I finally felt validated. I don't know. It was just such an honor.
Thanks for sharing that. Helma, I'd like to turn to you. And I'm wondering, how did Dennis specifically acknowledge and value your contributions, you know, especially those that often happen behind the scenes? And how did that shape your confidence and engagement?
Yeah, I was traveling with him, and so I was teaching on the court. But then a lot of times I would do other things because at that point we had already the merchandise. So we were traveling around in a van, and we would have like a machine to put Dennis's face on the T-shirts, sell them. We had those little machines, little model machines, called them. You're familiar with them, Kalindi. And so we were always selling and doing, and he would make me always in charge of the money, and I really enjoyed that.
Thanks, Helma. I love that. I got that visual as you shared.
Elizma, your journey intersected with Dennis and PTR. Obviously, being from the same region, there's certainly a lot of emotional ties, cultural ties as well. How did his encouragement in your career, early development, how did that help you transcend and sort of break those barriers?
Wow, that is an excellent question there because, you know, Dennis didn't just form me as a player, guided me as a player. His influence actually guided the trajectory of my life, right? This is in and out. Thank you. He really was a catalyst. He guided you as a player, but he was really forming you for the future, right? In the trajectory. As a player, you know how he was just brilliant at simplify complex things, right? He made it simple and he's solution orientated. Then, you know, as I said yesterday, we were born in Namibia. You know, he was born there, I was born there. We haven't met in Namibia. We had the same coach who was a catalyst in both of our lives. And when I arrived here to train here, because frankly, my first year on tour, I was lost. But Dennis had that capability to, wow, he can just see potential in you that you didn't even see yourself, right? Like Tina said. And he will elicit that. And when I finished and I retired, and his words right at the Vandermeer Academy, he said, Elizma, you go back to Namibia and you're going to be the queen of the Namibian tennis. I didn't have a clue because I didn't know what I'm going to do with my life. That was an identity crisis after retiring. And it unfolded that I became the president of the Namibian Tennis Federation and my own academy I started there. And that was incredible, powerful how he guided me in transforming that whole region with tennis development, using the PTR, his methods, training coaches. We became, as a nation, ended up number 2 in Africa in the junior tennis. And we developed, he always supported the players and the coaches, the development program. We would go into schools, training the teachers to train the kids. 63,000 kids a year. We get the equipment for the program, but his methods change lives for generations. That put the whole, that's how he influenced tennis, not just in Namibia, but worldwide. And he prepared me as a leader to coach, but also to multiply impact. In fact, he taught me business, how to lead, right? And so he was just incredible with simple things. If I observed him, how his work ethic at Wimbledon or at Grand Slams, how he interacted with the greats, but also just the general public. We will come from Wimbledon. The one incident was we came out of the players' lounge and just wanted to go and scout and watch some matches, and he bumped into Richard Williams and Nick Bollettieri, right? And his charisma was just overtaking both those two big characters, right? The way he was how he made them feel special, how he add that quirk, but yet that lesson, he was just one of a kind. How he lead. Sorry, it was a long one, but I just want to blow everything I can regarding tennis. He was just amazing.
I love it. Thanks so much for sharing all the details of the stories. I know everyone appreciates it.
Let me say, I wouldn't tell you exactly the conversation between Richard, Nick Bollettieri, and Dennis. I might get in trouble. I will bribe you for that.
Jean, you can hold onto the mic but now you've just invited us in a future question to ask you about those details. So, oh boy. Jean, I'm wondering, were there moments when you and Dennis disagreed? And how did Dennis handle those conversations? And what did you learn from him through that about leadership?
Well, if you knew Dennis was strongly opinionated. But truth of the matter is, he was usually right. But what you would do is you would have a conversation. He would listen to what you had to say for about 30 seconds. And then he would explain to you, this is what we're doing, Jeannie Mills. Okay, I got it. I understand. But what I observed with him is he would listen to everyone. It would be limited, but he would listen to you. And then the reality is he always made sure when you left the meeting, you would know how he felt. If he was in agreement or not in agreement. But I will tell you, 99 times out of 100, he was right. And we did what Dennis said.
And that's sort of the underlying theme, right? Is Dennis didn't just encourage people. He trusted them with responsibility and with that stewardship. So for Tina, was there a time Dennis entrusted you with a major responsibility, a program, a structure, perhaps decision-making that sort of led you to, kind of breaking through that mold? And if so, what are some of the key characteristics that you still carry on today for that?
I think it was his approval of me marrying Scott. because I think he saw in Scott and I what he and Pat had. And he just knew that it would be an incredible relationship built on love, respect, a love of tennis, and wanting to improve that game. And it was something we would always, if we had the chance to sit down and have dinner and talk, it was always about how we worked together as a team and how it was so similar to how they worked together as a team. And yeah, it was that.
That's so special. And back to you, Helma. I'm wondering if you can share a moment when Dennis trusted you with responsibility that stretched you and helped you grow into a greater capacity.
I was only 20 when I started working for him, so I needed a lot of help to get up to par, to teach, and he was always very encouraging, and he trusted me to lead one of the courts, and that was the main thing, because we had normally at that point the tennis universities had 40 people, 6 people on the court, so we had Dennis and 6 other coaches. So I thought I was very honored that he would give me that opportunity.
Thanks, Helma.
So that kind of leads to my next question for you, Elizma. When Dennis supported your growth, what did his coaching look like in principle? And how did that sort of help you step out of or get out of your shell and sort of become the person that you became?
I think with that one, he was always very good at giving you the next best step to implement. He will have the bigger vision, and then he will get back to that next best step. After that, the next best step. And if you were following that is when clarity was just breaking through. You might not know, you don't know what you don't know, but then it was almost as if he can elicit where you're going, the trajectory, and he was giving you the GPS to get there, right? For me, that was, I trusted him. Also, because he built such an incredible respect, but trust. First of all, I think what made Dennis stand out is we all can agree. His way of building rapport with people was next level. I think you can all agree. He will know everyone's name. He will look you at the eye. He will talk to you as if you're the only person in that room. His rapport that he established is a skill. After that, the next step, what Dennis was doing, now once you're in agreement, he was able and have that trust to speak into your life that's going to move you and help you to break through to the next level. That was my experience, whether it was as a tennis player or as a leader. And I want to tell you, my special moments was when he wasn't well at home, when I had the moments to sit with Dennis and speak to him in Afrikaans and see without a word how he would react and respond with sensory acuity, communicating. He was just a brilliant communicator with words, without words, because of how his ability to, I want to say, create rapport.
Thank you. I love that. So many gems there. I feel like we could create a book of quotes from all the talks today, and it's just I love it. Back to you, Jean. How do you see Dennis's trust in you influencing leadership pathways today?
What Dennis did with me is he changed my life in the sense I would not be in tennis. I had a master's in counseling, and I'd planned to do social work. Because of Dennis, I got into tennis, starting with the executive director. Then I moved to Florida. And throughout my life and my career, I would call Dennis. He would always take the call. Might be at night, he would call me back at 11 o'clock. But he would always give me not the answer, but he would ask me questions that would lead me to the next step. But he trusted people. He trusted me, and I trusted him implicitly. So for me to be in tennis, my leadership style is similar to Dennis. Dennis always said, find the solution. Dennis always said, listen to people. Dennis always said, do what is the right thing for the right reason. And throughout my career with where I worked, with the PTR, with even to this day, I always try to do the right thing, but it doesn't hurt people. Pat was very adamant, and I think you have to bring Pat in with this conversation. She was a major influence with Dennis. And Pat's compassion with people. She would be mad about something, but at the very end, she would always say, but Jeannie, you don't want to hurt anyone. You want to make it good for them. You want to make it right for them. So through my life, I've kind of been, I guess, a mediator, tried to bring people together, tried to find the common theme, but I've always tried to do the right thing for the right reason. And he led me in my leadership capacity totally in being a team player and in trusting people to do things, but only through education, training. But let them fly, Jeannie Mills. Let them go.
That's beautiful, and that's something that I think Dennis and Pat did so well. And the true measurement of encouragement is what it enables in others, right? So, Tina, how did you see Dennis's encouragement in you affect how you treat others within PTR and obviously the industry?
Yeah, exactly what Jean said. I mean, it's respect others, treat others how you want to be treated. Always make them feel good when they come to the court. If you're having a bad day, don't let anybody know. You're there to perform a service for your students. So yeah, it was just always that level of respect.
I love that. Back to you, Helma. How has Dennis's encouragement influenced the way that you support, mentor, and uplift others within the PTR community?
Oh, I think because of the membership, I was the membership director, I could really help a lot of people. They would always call me for advice, or they needed something, so I think that really helped me in that aspect.
So, Elizma, as you've grown through PTR and your international impact, how has Dennis's belief in you helped you grow and helped you maintain that personality and helped you maintain that momentum throughout your entire career?
I think with Dennis and with Pat, they lead with example. I copy so much of what he was doing unconsciously. I remember they came to visit me in Namibia, and it was in those days we didn't have cell phones, but I observed his work ethic. We will be on the way to the airport, and he will be with his little microphone, or like the little recorder. And we were driving, and he's like dictating everything, writing down all the steps that needs to be implemented, the vision he saw. But then the key was, and Jean, that was what I really picked up, is the quality of questions he asked you that lead you and elicit from you the answer that you have. And I think that is where he was a phenomenal visionary, where he can elicit out of each one with high quality questions a dimension that he might not even have been aware of, but it's in you. And on that point, I feel also with Pat and Dennis, they dream together. They work together for a bigger purpose. And I think that's where, with what they equip and empower and enrich our lives with, that's actually a responsibility. Running each of our own races, each of us have a different journey. So many ways, but in each journey, that's where we're gonna really, I want to say, continue that ripple effect, make an impact that's gonna multiply. But Dennis was brilliant at leadership and I want to say marketing. I think way before everything. Personal branding, marketing. He was way ahead, whether it's in the science department, whatever. He was the leader, isn't it? That's my opinion.
I love that. Thanks so much. Jean, back to you. You mentioned a few minutes ago, well, many, many wonderful gems, but something that specifically stood out to me was that comment about Dennis really talked about doing the right thing for the right reason, and that was like a lived value that he led and that you led. And I'm wondering if you can share an example maybe of the first time you saw that in action with Dennis, and then perhaps carrying it forward, an example of when you lived that, carrying that legacy.
Well, that's a tough one. But the first example is I had been involved in Florida tennis. And I was the outgoing president. And through all of that, I would be calling Dennis, and he would be giving me some advice. Jeannie, stay out of the politics. Jeannie, stay focused. Jeannie, be simple. But when you make a decision, make it in the best interest of everyone. So we did a foundation, and let's face it, foundation, it's hard to raise money. And he said, do your homework. So I contacted all the sections. Southern did a big event with a black tie, and they honored people, and they raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. We couldn't do that in Florida. Everybody was cheap. Nobody was going to do that. So I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So I talked to all the sections. I looked at all the various people, foundations. It wasn't working. So one day, I'm driving down the road, and I see a license plate. It was talking about save the reefs, save the manatees. And I'm thinking, save the tennis. I'd save the tennis. Then it would say, market the tennis. Oh, if we could get a license plate, we could put that in, people would be driving all over the country, and people would see tennis, and people would do this. And I don't have to go ask people for money. So I'm thinking, good idea, maybe. Talk to people. 3 years later, after spending time with the government of the state of Florida, we have a tennis license plate in the state of Florida now. It's ultimately because Dennis challenged me to do this. It took 3 years to do through the government. It is still there, and I'm proud to say they've raised over $1,300,000 that goes into programs for the kids and for tennis. So that's an example where he was in my brain, but I didn't know it. And I didn't know it until I drove down the street, and I thought, tennis, what? Oh, a tennis license plate. Oh. So, but he has done that in thousands of ways.
Lisa and I have a tennis license plate for the state of Florida. So absolutely, we are very supportive of that. Thank you. I'm just gonna kind of, I guess, point out the pink elephant in the room here, which is I'm the only man on this court, and I'm sitting next to 5 very powerful, amazing women. And I can't help but think about our industry. Our industry, I think, is maybe 22% female. Maybe it's up, maybe it's down a little bit, but you know, I've always been a big advocate for females, but unfortunately, you know, a 43-year-old balding male. So sometimes it can fall on deaf ears from me. But how can we get more females in this industry? What's it going to take? How can we do it as individuals? How can we do it as a community? How can we do it as an entire industry? I would love to see more. And that's a question for all of you. So who wants to tackle that one first? Jean, of course. Hot potato.
I think the key is we have to be more visible. Women have to promote women. Women have to get more women involved. I think we have to do a better job mentoring people at all levels. It's not just one level, or, you know, it's not about a certification. It's not about how many years you've been doing something. I think it goes back to Dennis. We need to live by example, lead by example, and we need to be more a force in our communities, in our areas, wherever we go. Because I think it's the women that have got to get the innovation to the women.
Well, I have a very recent example of this. One of my players, I coach college tennis, if you don't know that, and one of my players graduated, was having trouble finding a job in the industry that she wanted to look for, and a local club owner called me and said, "Do you have anyone?" And I said, "If she's willing, this girl would be amazing on court," because she stayed an extra year and went to grad school and was my volunteer assistant. And one day, I just kind of walked behind her as she was working with one of the players on the team, and she said something, and I was like, that was incredible for someone young and not really in the industry to see what that player was doing wrong. And I saw the same thing, and I've been doing this a lot of years. I was like, if this girl ever wanted to coach tennis, that's what she wants, that she should do that. And so I was there and I told her about the job, and I was like, you really need to do this. I said, because believe it or not, if you're good, you can make a money. I don't know if I turned it off, but hello. Oh, there I am. I'm back. So she's there, and I think I get like every couple months a thank you from for the guy who owns the club. Thank you so much for sending me Anna. She's wonderful. And I was like, I know. And so I'm just kind of glad that I guided her that way. And I have other alumni that are out there searching for jobs, and I'm like, and some of them I to be tennis pros, and they've come back and said, you know, I've little bit, I've gone back to where I trained and I've done that. So, you know, just supporting them and kind of pushing them, as Dennis did.
With the PTR membership, we tried definitely to get a lot more members, for sure, when Billie Jean King got in the Hall of Fame and she was promoting it, and our goal was like 30%. But it was very difficult still, and I don't know why, because it's such a good job for women, because when you have children, you can set your own schedule, even when you would work only 4 hours a day, or, you know, you're not committed to the full day. But we always had a very difficult time to get more women into the organization, because we have been working on it for 50 years.
I think in my when I was at the Namibian Tennis Federation, I had to do a lot of work with the International Tennis Federation, and also traveling with the players. I was a lot of times the only woman in the boarding room at the Worldwide Coaches Workshop, not the only one, but minority, right? One. And one thing Dennis would encourage very strongly is he would say, Elizma, keep on keeping on doing the right thing, right? And for me, it was always to be in ecology, which means he helped me a lot with negotiation. It needs to be a win-win scenario. You have to win, they have to win. And I think that's a principle we can, as women in the industry, really equip and empower and train women to live their vision and express that in rooms male dominant, in a supportive way, because at the end of the day, what is the purpose? It's in our scenario to really promote tennis, but also for me, it's to develop people on and off the court. And, really how to manage conflict. There's always going to be, but to think outside of the box to empower and enrich people. And we shouldn't shy away. It might not be easy, but in a very empowering, genuine, loving way and a healthy way, we can make an impact. I know we were together at the WTA with Judy Murray, Mary Pierce, and that's where we wanted to get more women also in leadership, right? And also wherever we go with the coaching. And that's where Dennis was just keep saying, you keep on keeping on doing the right thing no matter what. And that's how you're going to impact. You might just sow a seed. People might not say much, but it might change a life for future generations, because that's what Dennis and Pat is doing. They sown the seeds in each of us, because that's why we're here, right? That's their vision in us. And we need to live it out in our unique way and avenue. That's my take of that.
One quick thing. I have to give you an example here. I want his wife to stand up. Lisa, would you just stand up? Yeah. I met her at the girls' national 12 and under tournament in Polo, in Delray Beach. A few years later, she and her parents bought a home at our club. I have watched her grow up. I've watched her be an incredible player. And for me to sit here, see what she has done. Of course, she married a great guy too. I mean, the two of them, they're the same as this couple thing. But I am so proud of her. And I'm so disappointed in myself that I didn't do more to help her. So I went up to him today. I said, whatever I can do in Boca, you call me. I want to help you. But she is a perfect example of what we all need to do. And I applaud the two of you, and you keep on, keep on. You can sit down.
Thank you all so much. Oh, yeah. Here.
Conversation that I had with Dennis many years ago. Just wanted to mention one thing that I had a conversation with Dennis many years ago, and it's an area where I teach and mentor people today, young men, and that's you've got to attack male patriarchy. That is at the foundation of this country. It is one of the problems that we currently can see throughout this country in terms of what's happening, the disrespect to women. I mean, those women that you do see are being used as puppets by men who have power. And that's what this country has always been about. But if you don't embrace it and you don't attack it, it's never going to change. Okay, you've got to have the courage to do that. And you've got to be fearless in that fight.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Yeah, and to all of you ladies. And I just want to acknowledge also, Before I do that, I also just want to acknowledge Radhika, because this whole event, We are all here today because of an amazing woman who's getting embarrassed now and who has followed in the footsteps of these amazing women. And I'm honored to follow in those footsteps, hopefully a little bit. And yeah, and we're opening it up to audience questions.
I just wanted for Helma to share the history of when the USPTR was founded. How did you keep the membership up to date? The shoebox. I give you a hint. The shoebox story.
Yeah, Dennis would grade everybody, or we would have testers, and then I would get all the results, and I have to put them all on little cards, and with my handwriting, it's amazing. And then they were sent at that point still to California, and that's where they received the results and got the certificates, and they mailed them one by one, because at that point there were no computers. So it was a very primitive way of doing it, and it was just amazing that it would work, because even when we would go to Japan, we had to still do all this work, and then it would go by slow boat back to Japan.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Let's see. I think it might be just about time. What do you think, Radhika? Can we let one more person ask a question? Does anyone else have a question from the audience? I think Kyle has a question.
Get ready. Ladies, we can close it off with this. I would like you to finish this sentence with maybe a quick, super quick Dennis story. But please finish this sentence. This is for all of you. Dennis instilled in me. You can play the Jeopardy music if you want. Dennis instilled in me ...
A passion that I guess I think I didn't have a lot of confidence when I started. I had people behind me supporting me, but I think my passion just continued to grow the more I was entrusted to do things for the PTR, to be a tester, to be a clinician, to run the women's committee, to be in a great partnership with Scott. And I would be remiss to say, I mean, like so many of you, but really for me, if it weren't for Dennis, if it weren't for the PTR, I never would have met the love of my life. I never probably would have stayed in tennis. I would have probably continued to work for the eBell US Pro Indoor in Philadelphia, and who knows where I would have been. But I would not have gone on this incredible journey that I've been on for the past 36 plus years. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Maya Angelou, it's my favorite quote, once said, "When you leave this earth, people won't remember anything about you, the kind of car you drove, where you lived. What they will remember is how you make them feel." To translate to Dennis, the greatest gift he gave to me was a quote. He said, "Jeannie Mills, it's better to serve than receive." And we weren't playing tennis.
Love it. Thank you.
Wow, I don't know. The first word that came up to me when you asked that question is excellence. He called me to really always think outside of the box, but at the same time run your race and impact where you are. Do what you can with what you have and do the best with that. And then think outside the box to find the solutions, right? For me, that was where then it leads to breakthroughs and excellence. Wherever you are, or, whatever area you are, what part of life you are at. And I think step by step, it's just, yeah.
When we were on the court, we always said we made a world of difference, and that was what we are supposed to be doing. We have to make a world of difference. That's the whole purpose of teaching and of even at work. We have to make the best of what we can do. So.
Thank you all so much. Just, I mean, I don't even have words. Just so much the depth of the heart and legacy that is enduring, and really just the service heart that Dennis had, that he shared with you all, that you continue to share, and the such a high standard of integrity of doing that next right thing and doing that right thing. And I absolutely love the Maya Angelou quote. I've heard that one before, and thank you for reminding me of it. And just that it's better to serve than receive. Like, I love that from so many layers. And often, of course, as tennis players and coaches, you like to serve first. So just that metaphor for life, I absolutely love it, and the depths and the relationships that formed. And, as you were sharing, you met the love of your life. I did the same. If I was just, I met my husband at the 2019 PTR. So if it wasn't for PTR, that wouldn't have happened. And let's just have a big round of applause for our amazing panelists, my co-host Kyle, and to all of you. Please also give yourselves a round of applause, and to Radhika for bringing us all together.